Good evening. Welcome to our Institute of Global Professional Fee webinar. Thank you all for joining and stay with us till the end. My lovely audience, today I am your host for the afternoon. My name is Bathun Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear audience, I am proud to be a associate of IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. This is my delight to welcome you all to our Institute of Global Professional Free Webinars. Thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous afternoon, and it's my humble request and pleasure to all of you to join with us till the end. Institute of Global Professional serves student and community resource providing holistic social work and education for create a component generation. IGP is a leading online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. Institute of Global Professional is an educational institute provides social work with globally recognized. We recognized our webinar training, offline online courses, bribe based and train speaker coaches from all over the world. Our mission is empower people. We have already successfully completed 1075 webinars. Dear participants, let's introduce our speaker, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Okay, so good day. I'm doing really fine. Thank you. Hello to everyone present in today's session.
Okay, ma'am. Then first tell me something about
Should I
yourself.
start now
Then
the
you can start
presentation?
your presentation.
Okay, so can I confirm that the screen is seen? Okay. So for today, we will be talking about leading from me to we, innate to profound leadership. So this will be a sort of a reevaluation of the leader within. So I would like first to thank IGP for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. I've been with IGP for the past months. I think this is already my third time being with IGP on a session of discussions. Now, by the way, I am from the Philippines. If there are some who are watching from the Philippines, hello mga kabayan. So I am part of the Department of Education, particularly in the Iriga City of Bicol region. So moving forward, for today, here's what we will be looking into. Just for subtopics, namely, the first one is redefining profound leadership. The second is learning about the leader in you. And the third is training me to see as we. And the last would be succeeding as a profound servant leader. So, in these four subtopics, we will be discussing different perspectives on how you can develop profound leadership in you and on others as well. So, though this is something more of a reevaluation of yourself, this is also a reevaluation of how you perceive leadership and how you think you can get profound leadership at the same time develop different aspects of yourself in the process. So let's go with the first subtopic, which is redefining profound leadership. So how can you actually say that your leadership is profound? So there's a lot of people who can say that they are leaders, but not everyone is what you call profound leaders. So what is actually profound? So according to Merriam-Webster, which is a famous dictionary, profound meant something that is strongly felt. So it should be something that is strongly felt within or some strongly felt by others. So profound leadership in a sense is something that resonates not only to yourself but also to others as well. So when it resonates, there should always be a response, of course. So when some for example, there is this person who for some reason resonates to you or some for some reason is or has a great impact to you, of course you will be urged to respond, you will be urged to respond with your feelings. You will show respect to the person. You will show probably your opinion, you give your feedback to that person because the impact is profound. It's strongly felt. So there should always be a produce of leadership, a product of leadership. And what kind of product is this? So we will discuss that in the later part of this presentation. So if leadership is actually that simple, that if being a profound leader is actually that simple, what is the problem? So where are our profound leaders? So there's always this question. When I shared this similar content on the youth of here in the Philippines, at one training I was invited to become a speaker on. One of the students actually posed this question to me. He said, "Ma'am, if leadership is actually that easy, if leadership is or can be defined easily by saying that it is strongly felt, because the word strongly felt can be a bit vague in some sense." So he asked me, where are our profound leaders? Where are they? If it is that easy. So here are some of the five responses I gave the child, the young man. Um, the first is the successful businessman. So these are actually types of people, or they are actually the reason why our profound leaders are nowhere. First of all, these people, you can see them whether in you, this can be you, or this can be other people. But generally, these are the reasons why profound leaders are very rare nowadays. So the first is successful businessman. So I call it the successful businessman because there are some people who are very focused on our personal priorities. Of course, I'm a little bit guilty of that as well. I'm very much focused on my personal goals, of course, our families, of course, our love relationships, or different kinds of relationship, friendships, and other priorities in life, to the point that leading others becomes something of a luxury, or something that you see as you don't have enough time for, something like that. Because you're that successful businessman who's always busy, who always has a lot of priorities, you don't have time to lead others or lead yourself. The next is the martyr sacrifice, the martyr. So we see leaders sometimes as martyrs, those people that you would um, build a statue for because they give too much effort, they give a lot of their effort and time into being leaders, into being the supposed profound leaders. That's why we kind of view them as something that others should just do, not us. Because it's a very large sacrifice to devote your time, your effort, your blood, your sweat into being a profound leader, that for some of us it's too much of a gamble. It's too much to sacrifice for. So and also there's also other people who actually lack the feeling of empathy, love, or care for others. That's why there's very rare leaders like this nowadays. Next is Alice in Wonderland. I call it Alice in Wonderland because there are also some people who is actually the opposite. If the successful businessman and the martyr thinks that they have too little time to sacrifice for this great cause of being a profound leader, Alice in Wonderland, or the Alice in a lot of people nowadays, they think they have the time. They have too much time. You know, they would say, "Oh, I can be a profound leader, but I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll just do it on when I reach 25 years old, when I think I have enough resources, when I think I have enough of everything that I think would be enough to be a leader." Something like that. Here in the Philippines, we call it mañana. You know, it's actually rooted in the Filipino phrase mamayana, which is later. It's a form of um, a social disease, or a behavior wherein you would always put or set aside tasks for today for tomorrow because of different forms of procrastination. Like for example, you want to do a lot of stuff first. You do not find yourself ready for the task, something like that. So that's what I call Alice in Wonderland. The fourth type of person, that is the reason why profound leaders are very rare, is the motivator. So there's a lot of us who view profound leadership as a big cause, something that is um, of a high level of servants, or rather of service to the community. But then again, they do not take the first step themselves. They would just rely too much on the greater population or on the masses and wait for others to do it. Like, for example, they try to motivate others. You can be a leader, you can do this, you can do that. But when the topic shifts to them, when they are asked, why don't you do it? Why don't you want to become a leader? And they would just say, not me, not me, it's probably just you, you should try, not but not me, something like that. So they just pass it on. It becomes some a form of heritage, social heritage, that they would just pass it on and on until somebody takes the task to become a profound leader of a community. So that's the motivator. They just motivate others to do it without trying to become one themselves. And the last would be someone similar to your ex-partner. They give up too easily. Leadership is a very, very, how should I say this? Hard profession. If you treat it as a profession, if you treat it as a vocation, and if you treat it as something more than that, or let's say a passion, it's something that you would invest a lot of time and effort for to develop, to progress in, because there's a lot of stages in leadership. There's a lot of ups and downs, as they say, progress and development, growth, even in different aspects, not just in leadership. Growth is not linear. It doesn't go from low to high. At some stages, you would be at this point, at this level, and at the same, and in different times, you would even be lower than the first stage you were in. That's growth. It You would be sometimes less, you would be sometimes more, until you reach the peak point wherein you achieve something. That's the same with leadership. Sometimes you can be a bad leader, sometimes you can be a good leader, but the important thing there is your learning. But for others, they want to be a leader overnight, just the same as those who want to become a millionaire. For others, they just want to become leaders in the next day. One moment they are just a part of the community, then the next time they want to be a leader who is famous, who has a lot of connections, who has a lot of friends and stuff. But they do not remember that it's actually a process, a growth process to become a leader. So they give up too easily, and whenever they just reach a problem or meet a problem in the long run, they would think it's just the end of the world. They would be a little bit um, negative on their perspectives on themselves or on others, that they would cut the leadership journey in half. They would just give up halfway, and it's all done. That's it. So those are the types of people, or some, let's say, some of the problems that happens or is there. That is why profound leaders are very rare in society nowadays. The next would be learning about the leader in you. So there's this misconception that when we talk about leadership, it's all about community. It's all about how you serve others, how you become part of the larger or the bigger pond. But leadership actually starts in yourself. When I attended the National Congress here in the Philippines, it's an annual youth leadership congress, wherein the top 80 young leaders in the nation is chosen. There's a lot of process, actually, from interviews, from documentary reviews, and the like. I was able to talk with some of the prominent persons here in the Philippines, CEOs. Some of them were members of the Ayala group of companies here in the Philippines. And during that time, when I was able to attend the Congress, I was chosen. we were actually surprised because we expected that they would teach us more about leadership, more about managing companies, managing diverse people, people of different races, different behaviors, different attitudes, different values, different perspectives. But they taught us more about developing the leader inside of us. Take how to take care of ourselves in the midst of trying to serve others, serving ourselves first, healing ourselves first before we try to serve others. Because we realize that there's this big impact, there's this substantial effect of being an unhealed person or someone who has a lot of trauma, has a lot of blocks inside us. um, for example, you have a very large experience on um, being rejected by people or being rejected by your family. It has actually a significant effect that just undergoes in your subconscious that you don't know at all, is affecting how you go with your leadership or is affecting your leadership style. That is actually what they clarified about us, that there's always this effect from within, from innate, to your profound leadership or to the kind of leadership that you exert outside of your body. So there's this that's the clarification they give us. And it's actually a big takeaway for me because I think a lot of people often forget the fact that leadership starts from oneself. So in this case, let's try. I can see the participants, whether it's on YouTube or I don't know if it's airing on Facebook, or also if you're also watching not in real time, like for example in asynchronous sessions. I believe this is gonna be posted, or it can also be accessed through the website of IGP. um, in this case, you can try to just ask yourself some of these questions. Try to reflect with me on this case. So, what is leadership for you? Try to ask it in yourself first, and try to think of different concepts. Whether it's contradictory to what I put here, it's okay. Just try to express yourself on your own way. You can write it down. You can just jot it down on bullets or something. You can write in paragraph. It's up to you. Just try to record this because this will be, as I've said, a reflective session. So here in this case, I asked a lot of people this question: What's leadership for you? Very common, very first step discussion. When we're going to have a discussion, this is always one of the first things that come to mind. What is leadership for you? This is actually a grade level question. So in this case, there's some people who gave me these answers, and there are some that I just gave here for your perusal. Next is, they said leadership is not actually a rank nor a position. In some cases, if you will see the later part of this presentation, it said that leadership is not actually a position but an action. For me, it's actually a decision or a choice. Um, it's actually your choice. It can be an action as at the same time. Since when when we go with leadership, it's actually something that we choose out of a lot of options. Being a leader is not actually mandatory. It's not something that is required of you. Like for example, everything is going down with the world and the world is ending, and you would have to step up. Like you would be forced to step up and take this seat of glory, this seat of leadership just to save people. No, that's not leadership. It's actually a choice. When you decide to become or to be someone who serves others first, at the same time, you don't forget yourself. But in this case, if you make the actual choice, that is a form of leadership. Like you hear something inside you that is what we usually call as the call of leadership. And um, I think very few people have this, and there are some who might have ignored it because of different circumstances. But then again, leadership is always not a position because, as they said here by Clariska, you may be in a position of authority but not a leader. So being a leader is not actually automatically given to people. For us, when we see someone who is a person of authority, someone of high position, like for example, the chief executive officer of a certain company is automatically seen as a leader, but that's not the case. That's why giving this, just like depression nowadays is often used in different terms. Here in the Philippines, we often say, "Oh, I'm depressed," just because, for example, it's raining, and just like today, it's raining outside. Because the weather is dull, the weather is gloomy, and I feel a little bit sad. I feel a little bit gloomy as well. I would say, "Oh, I'm so depressed." But in reality, the term is not something to be used lightly. It's not something to it because depression is actually a medical condition. In this sense, leadership or the term leader is not some it's not actually a term that can be easily um given to someone, or you could say, oh, he's a good leader just because he is the chief officer of a certain company, because the company is really large, there's a lot of people, he's already a good leader. That's not the case, because as I've said, leadership is not actually a rank or position. Then of course, leadership is also not for the half-hearted. So in this case, the one I told you about, just previous in the previous slide, which is um more on about the person giving up easily, the ex partner. There's a lot of people who in leadership you in leadership, you would always encounter a lot of problems. It can be your problem, it can be the problem of your team, it can be the problem of the community you're serving. It's everywhere. And there's a lot of people who would give up halfway, even with just problems of themselves, when their self problems. And that's the case with leadership. In leadership, your passion needs to be much stronger than the challenges you will face, because this is what will push you through into making or coming up with solutions to the problems, to the challenges, to overcoming it. And I think that's what's important with leadership. It's wholeheartedly serving your purpose. And then again, what is that purpose? In leadership, as it here, that leadership is our biggest challenge and our biggest opportunity. So Lilia de Lima is actually it's not Laila de Lima. Laila de Lima is actually a prominent politician here in the Philippines. Lilia de Lima is someone else. In this case, it said that leadership is the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity. It's your biggest challenge to yourself, because you're practically going out there, you're showing yourself to others, you're going to serve others without even knowing if you're completely ready to serve yourself and your others at the same time. So it's a big challenge, very very big challenge. And at the same time, it's the biggest opportunity for you to develop yourself and at the same time serve others in the process. So it's a double way, or what they call this, a double-edged sword. So it can hurt you and at the same time it can benefit you. And the last, of course, leadership, I think is comprised of two things: commitment and expertise. Without the two of these, leadership can go 50-50. It can go shaky, a little bit shaky, because if you do not have commitment, you will not have that force that keeps you going, that moving force behind your back. If you do not have the expertise, people tend to lose respect for people who do not have enough skills, enough knowledge, or enough values to push their leadership through. To that gives them the, what you call this, the weapon to help people, to pave the way for the people to go through, because usually expertise helps a lot in developing your leadership. Next is this question. So ask yourself, why are you here? So who are you actually serving? So there are a lot of people who have different purpose with their leadership. For example, there are some people who had personal intentions when they run as politicians, as leaders of the community, a certain community. There are a lot of people who are leaders of different organizations who have entirely different purposes than the purpose that is in the mission, vision, or goals of their organization. So there's a lot of people like that. But the key here is that the reason why you serve is often the core of your leadership. So if, for example, if the reason you are here, if you are trying to serve your national community, for example, in my case, the Filipino community, this is the core of my leadership. This is where everything would revolve. My values, my vision, my goals, everything would revolve because this is the reason, the purpose, and the core of my leadership. So this is where everything goes. This is the sun to my solar system, as they say. So in this case, be honest. Just be honest. It's okay if you do not um, go with a very large purpose, like you say, I am serving my community, I'm serving my nation, my heart is going to serve my president or something like that. Just be honest. It's okay if your purpose is just to serve your family first or to help your friends first. It's okay. That's the beginning steps, the baby steps of leadership. So ask yourself, if do you really commit yourself to the cause you are fighting for or to the people you claim to serve? Because as they say, what sometimes what we say is different from what we do. Our actions is opposite with our words. So try to realign yourself with this one. Realign your purpose with your actions and try to ask yourself reflectively and evaluatively about these things. Next is this question: is leadership about your other people? So I've been asked this question as well before. So in this case, it is actually about both. It's about you and other people. As I've said again and again, leadership is from inside out. So you are the one in action, and at the same time, oh, forgive my dog, it's a bit noisy outside. So you are your own personal leader at the same time, and your choices for yourself often affect the community you serve, or how you become the people leader, as they say. So there's always three things that a people leader often have. First is the habit of reflection. Next is the support group, and the last would be having mentors. Of course, even though you are a leader, it's always beneficial to have a mentor who will guide you and assist you in your journey. Next is the third one is training me to see as we. So if you see actually the me word, if you if if you put a mirror under me, it would go with it would invert and would spell as we. So it's like an inverted M is like an inverted W. So in this case, it's all about training yourself to perceive a lot of things as something anchored on your purpose. For example, for me, there's a lot of times wherein I see things in a way to serve the Filipino community, not just to myself. It does not become a personal goal, it becomes a community goal. Like for example, when I offered one time to actually serve in the elections, I did not see it as something that would benefit myself because it would add to my resume, it would add to something that I can get a certificate from or probably free snacks from, but it became something I wanted for the community, for the betterment of the community, so that the election process would go well, so that there's less people who would who would get into trouble, so that I can assist people as they sketch or whatever they put on the ballot box, or how they put something like this or just like that, because it makes the process much easier for them, and at the same time I'm serving both the nation and at the same time the people I am directly um, communicating with, directly affiliated with, directly serving to. So that's how you turn from me to we. So in this case, who should you look out for? As a profound leader, who are the people you should be looking out for? So in this case, there's three things. First is your team. So your team is the people who are very close to you, who are very much part of your inner circle. So as they say, you may have your staff without a team. And the reason for that is you don't have any emotional bond. For example, you're a CEO of a group of different executives of their own, different department heads. Let's say you have 10 members of the board of trustees or something like that. And you can talk to them in a professional way, you can have a professional relationship with them. But outside of work, they don't see you as someone important to them. They don't see you as a leader. They don't see you as someone who they can connect with. And that's having a staff without a team. Team is is a different type of group. Having a team is having a group of people who you have emotional bond with. It's something that it's something that is past professional relationship. It's both professional and personal mixed together. And I think um at the same time, some of you may think that having professional and personal connections is troublesome, or it would cause different a lot of challenges in the process. But it's actually more beneficial to have both a personal bond and a professional bond with your team or with your staff members than just having one of those. Because the only thing that's important here is knowing the boundaries of the both one. So that's it. So if you don't know how to be a follower, of course you won't be able to become a good leader. You won't be able to empathize with them. As they say, for example, one of my boss, which is an education program supervisor, told me how she could relate to some of the young teachers nowadays because she was a teacher once. She underwent all this numerous process before she became a program supervisor, but she never forgot to look back into her experiences before so that she can relate to her staff, to her team members. So that's one thing. If you don't know how to be a follower, you won't be able to understand the situation of your followers. Next is, of course, make your savings deposits of goodwill. So you don't have to rely on monetary deposits to become a leader. It's more of making savings, making deposits of goodwill, of good actions, of kindness. Next is your community. Of course, you should always look out for your community. If you have a team, you will need to look after the environment your team is in. This would include people and inanimate objects, everything, environment, nature, etc. So here's the thing. This is a very common phrase. I cannot solve the problems of the world, but I can help lessen it. As a leader, you don't have to be overwhelmed with all the things that others are doing. Like some leaders often tend to um, compare themselves with others, with more prominent leaders, thinking that um, being a leader need being a leader, you should always have your shoulders prepared to have the problems of the world on your shoulders. Like you would need to carry it. If you know Atlas in the Greek mythology, wherein he's the one carrying the world. So whenever he would shift his weight just to relieve himself of the weight, he would shake the world a little and everything would go to chaos. There would be earthquake, there would be volcano eruptings. So you don't have to be Atlas. Just not just because you're a leader doesn't mean you have to shoulder everything on your own. And as they say, this may be a very cruel and ugly world. Here in the 21st century, um, there's a lot of people who, especially old people, if you could relate to me, older generations, wherein they would say, "Oh, our generation before was much better. We have a better environment, we have better values and stuff." And sometimes I would disagree with them because we have more convenient stuff nowadays. We have technology, we have electricity. But then again, sometimes I would agree with them in the sense of the value stuff, and at the same time the environment, because our environment is very much in a crisis nowadays. But then again, taking that aside, even though this is a very cruel and ugly world, as said in the poem Desiderata, you can always make it a little better as a leader. You don't have to solve all of the 100% problems of the world just to be called a profound leader. You can solve 0.0001% of it and still make an impact in your community. So you need to just find out where the chaos is and go there. Find where you have a problem in your community. For example, there's a problem of flooding in your community. Why not cooperate with your city government to try and to reevaluate or recheck the canals of your or the sewages of your city, to check the block, to ensure that there's no blocks in the passageway. Or for example, you can try to initiate a tree planting project. You can also try a brigada community project. Here in the Philippines, I think we're trying to push one in my locality, specifically Brigada Comunidad. So something like yun, Brigada Kabayan. You can use different terms for that. Brigada actually means something called pitching in to do the task. So that's one thing. So again, step out of the building. Your customers are not there. Nothing would happen if you would just lock yourself in your room and do not connect with anybody, whether it's in technology or in physical. You need to connect with someone. You need to go out the building. You need to um, go out of your comfort zone. You need to connect through the technology, to reach out through invisible walls, so that you can serve your purpose. You can serve the people you are claiming to serve. And of course, the last would be yourself. You need, of course, to look out for yourself. So in this case, here's an example. Once you handle your staff of 10, once you handle 10 staff members, you will be responsible for 10 lives. But who will be responsible for you? So always take extra caution in this one. Always take care of yourself. Always make sure to be responsible for yourself first before you become responsible for others. So remember again, you can always be a little selfish and greedy. A little selfish to take care of yourself anytime you break down. So some people see it as selfish when someone, for example, you have a very high performing leader, and after he performs 1 week of a lot of tasks, he just takes 1 day off. And some people would perceive this as a selfish task because he takes time to break down or takes time to rest at the same time. And they would say, oh, he's a little bit selfish. He knows a lot of people are relying on him and he takes a day off. Everything's going chaos and etc. etc. But that's not the case. It's actually something, I think it's actually something that he does for other people. When you take a rest at your breaking point, when you're at your breaking point and you take a rest, that's actually a way of helping your purpose, because if you break down, what would happen with your team? What would happen with your purpose, with your community? But if you take care of yourself properly, then you can continue becoming a leader. You can continue making profound impact on community, profound changes. And that, I think, is a better way to contribute than just to burning out yourself just because you want to be a leader. So you can always be a little greedy to think of everyone, even at that moment. So a little selfish, take care of yourself, and also a little greedy because while you're taking care of yourself, you're also taking care or thinking of others. So how do you make an impact as a leader? First, be a leader even to yourself. Again, walk the talk. Next, take the extra mile. So in this case, take the initiative. Think deeper, inch wide, miles deep. So there's always different strokes for different faults. Always think of diverse ways to address a certain problem, because some people would say, "Oh, there's always a correct answer to every problem." No, there is no actually correct answer. The correct or the best method to anything is the method that works. Next is fuel your passion as well as that of others. So always ignite the fire. Some leaders often ignite the fire in others, forgetting to keep the fire in themselves going. So they would just start the fire of leadership in others. They would let the youth continue something, and all the while they would just lose the fire themselves. They would lose interest in their advocacy. So again, passion spells the difference between mediocrity and excellence, and always it should go together. So if you have passion, keep it going. Your passion in yourself and the passion in you ignite in others should always come hand in hand. Make use of your heart, be kind. So be a leader of peace, not a leader of rebellion. So just because you move a lot of people towards a certain cause, for example, a rebellion, doesn't make you always a good leader. So do you lead equally with your heart as well as you do with your head? Okay, when dealing with yourself, always use your head. When dealing with others, use your heart. So as they say, people always forget what you do, but they never forget what you made what you made them feel. So most of the time, profound leaders are, as I've said, are those who make different actions that strongly impact or are strongly felt by the community. That's why if you would hear, actually, you would see a lot of the leaders who actually move communities are those who use their hearts, who use peaceful methods to initiate change instead of those who use arms, who use swords, who use weaponry. It's just different. It hits more in the heart, not just on the flesh. Next is, of course, remember you are not alone and always have courage. So, in this case, I forgot who said this. I came as one, but stand as many. You may start your leadership journey as one individual, but in the process, you gain a lot of followers, you gain a lot of connections and friends. So, you stand as many. You stand as a representative of many people. Then we come to the last section, which is succeeding as a profound servant leader. So, how can you say that you are successful with your leadership? There's always one answer, which is positive change. Positive change can come with three of these, as mentioned: good people and relationships. So, your team has good morale and values. Of course, it includes you, not just your team members. This does not just encompass the behavior of your team members. For example, if your team members are all good but you're not behaving correctly, you're the one who is the problem. Then you don't have good relationships, you don't have good people, and you don't have positive change. Next is good progress. Of course, your team is composed of people who know they are imperfect but striving to be better. It's always okay to know your flaws. It's better actually to know your flaws and at the same time accept them and do something about them. There are a lot of people who just accept their flaws but don't do anything. There are just some person who do everything but they don't accept their flaws. What's the best one is understanding that you're imperfect but at the same time striving to be better. Next is you have someone to pass the mission to for always, always. The purpose of your leadership does not have to end with you. Just because you died, just because you have sickness, you are not active anymore in the field, doesn't mean your advocacy or your leadership purpose should stop. It can always be transferred to another. It can always be shared to other people. So whatever you learn on your leadership journey, you don't have to stop it with yourself. You can make it continue by inspiring others or urging others to join you in your advocacy. So that's the case. So here are some last takeaway questions. So you can take these questions with you. You can reflect, yeah, you can make a reflection of yourself on this one. You can use it to ask people as well when for example, some of you may be speakers as well in different communities, in different groups, let's say different universities. You can ask people these questions if you get the chance to speak on leadership. You can also, of course, primarily and initially ask this to the leader inside of you. So the first is, how will you spend your dash? I don't know if some of you are familiar. It's actually a poem. I think the dash. You can try to look it up. In this case, it's actually more emotional. I just didn't find the video for it. But in this case, in the poem The Dash, it tackles how important a person's dash is. The dash is actually representing life because I think no matter what nationality we are in, there's always a form of tombstone, right? The ones we put on the tombs or in the cemeteries. If you observe carefully, the date of birth, after the date of birth of the person, there's always this dash, then the date of death. So in the poem, it was discussed how it doesn't matter on what day you are born, it doesn't matter on what day you die, it doesn't matter what happens after you die. What's important is what happens in the duration of your life. What did you do to make people happy? What did you do to serve other people, to give people a little bit of kindness, an inch of kindness every day? So it's the impact you have in that little dash in between the dates of your birth and death that is important. So for in your case, how will you spend your dash? How will you spend your life? And the last is, as a part of the chosen few. So as leaders, we are always part of the chosen few. As I've said, leaders isn't found as a common thing in a community. Let's say there's just one leader for a group of 10 people, a group of 15, a group of 50. So if you are really actually a profound leader, you are part of the chosen few. Whether you are a leader in the making, a leader in the progress, you are part of the chosen few. But then again, as part of the chosen few, what can you do for the unchosen many? For those who you serve, for those who are part of your community, what can you do for them? And I guess I leave you with this last quotation in relation to my previous slides. Leadership is an action, not a position, as said by Donald McCannon. So, how will you act, dear leader? Will you act for yourself, for your community, for your team, for your nation, or for your wholehearted purpose? And that ends my presentation for this session. I hope you learned a lot in terms of perspective, because I know some of these points are already discussed frequently in different leadership seminars. But I hope it resonated with you, and at the same time made you reevaluate a lot of things. So if you want to be part of my coalition network, or you have a request topic for me to discuss, always feel free to message me in the following accounts. Again, padayon, this is a Filipino word for continue moving forward. As leaders, we always need to have a vision, a goal, and of course, a passion to keep us moving. And I think that ends it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very informative for us and also for our participants. Ma'am, it's time for our quiz session. After completing the quiz session, we come back again for our question answer session. So you have to wait for a few minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. After a short video, we will start our quiz competition. So let's enjoy our quiz competition. Dear participant, to join our quiz competition, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on your certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. So don't forget to mention your friend. Already 27 people joined with us. We will start our quiz competition in 4 minutes. So please join with our quiz session. To join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. And please mention your friend to join our quiz competition. To join our quiz competition, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on certificates. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. 35 people join with us. We will start our quiz competition after 4 minutes. To join our quiz competition, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on certificates. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. And please don't forget to mention your friend to join our quiz competition. We will start our quiz after 2 minutes. To join our quiz competition, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. Please mention your friend to join our quiz. After 1 minute, we will start our quiz competition. We can see that we have already uh, 38 people who join in our quiz session. We will start our quiz session after a minute. Okay, let's start our quiz competition. Laissez-faire leadership is the least effective in promoting group goals. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 true is the right answer and 58% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Zimama is holding the first position. Our second question is events after the climax leading to the resolution. Option 1 resolution after 2 failing action. And the right answer is failing action. 66% people is right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Zimama is holding the first position. Okay, our third question is how was the old style of leadership designed? Option 1 bottom up, option 2 top down. How was the old style of leadership design? Option 1 bottom up, option 2 top down. Okay, option 2 top down is right answer and 54% people are right here. We can see that in the leaderboard, Evelyn is holding the third position after completing our third question. We are moving to our fourth question. The question is, what does leadership means? Option 1, the action of leading a group of people or an organization. Option 2, to lead people in the wrong way. Option 1, the action of leading a group of people or an organization. Option 2, to lead people in the wrong way. Option 1, the action of leading a group of people or an organization is the right answer, and 100% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Evelyn is holding the first position after completing our fourth question. Our next question is, will you learn something new and profound about servant leadership? Option 1, I already know a lot. Option 2, no. Option 1, I already know a lot. Option 2, no. Option 2, no is the right answer, and 18% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Evelyn is holding the first position. Our sixth question is transformation leadership are leaders who, option 1, strive to change, option 2, demand power. Transformational leadership are leads who, option 1, strive to change, option 2, demand power. Option 1 is strive to change is the right answer, and 86% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Evelyn is holding the first position after completing our sixth question. We are moving to our seventh question. The question is Muhammad expired profound prejudice reveals that lead him to believe that option 1 Allah was one of many gods, option 2 he was the last prophet of Allah. Option 2, he was the last prophet of Allah is the right answer, and 71% people are right here. After this question, we can see that Michelle is holding the first position in the leaderboard. Our eighth question is, what do you mean by system of profound knowledge described by Demeny? Option 1, management by positive cooperation. Option 2, management by negative cooperation. Option 1, management by positive cooperation. Option 2, management by negative cooperation. And the right answer is management by positive cooperation, and 97% people are right here. After that, in the leaderboard, Michelle is holding the first position. Our ninth question is a model regarding the five stage of group productivity and leadership responsibilities. Option 1, Tuckman model. Option 2, Sagander model. Option 1, Trackman model. Option 2, Sagander model. Option 2, Trackman model is the right answer, and 70% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Michelle is holding the first position after completing our question. Okay, our last question is how old are the principles of servant leadership? Option 1, as old as birthday girl when a canal, happy birthday. Option 2, over 2000-year old. Option 2, 2000 years old is the right answer, and 85% people are right here. Congratulations, top 10 quiz competition winner. We have all of you name which you during joining. We will pick and prepare certificate and will post them into our official Facebook page and group. Our official Facebook page is Institute of Global Professional. Dear participant, we are going for our question answer session. After a short video, we will start our question answer session. So let's enjoy our question answer session. Saya tetap lagi. Dear participant, we are requested to ask you question in our comment box. Please address speaker name. Our speaker ma'am is here to answer your question. Welcome back, ma'am.
Okay, so Um, thank you, dear MC. Okay, so there's this question from Sir Flomi Salviejo.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, why is leadership not for everyone? Question from Flummy.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Salviejo. So, though everyone actually has certain qualities which leaders possess, like for example, um, Leaders often have good communication skills, which a lot of people have. But then again, not everyone encounters these certain aspects or circumstances that would um, give opportunities for these certain characteristics to shine and be used it to be in service for others. As I've said, leadership is actually a choice. So the choice is for everyone. Anyone can become a leader, but then again, not everyone chooses to become a leader. Not everyone has that same grit, that that significant amount of effort or time, and other kind of resources and other substantial characteristics that would contribute to a bigger impact. So I think that's why leadership is not for everyone. Not everyone can become leaders, but there's no shame in also being a follower, because as they've said, being a leader is also the same with being a follower. So it's always just important to become a good leader to yourself as well. So you don't always have to become a leader to the community, but at least, at the very least, become a leader for yourself. So in that case, I think I hope that answered the question, Sir Salviejo. Thank you. Okay, so I think
Thank you, ma'am. Our
so.
second question is from Aaron. Good
Oh,
afternoon, ma'am.
another.
Why is the heart important in leadership?
Okay, so another question: are you brothers, or it's also another Salviejo, Sir Aaron? Okay, so thank you for the question. Of course, heart is always important in different aspects of our lives, especially in leadership. So, in the sense, if you do not have the heart, or you do not use your heart to empathize with the people or with your followers whom you are indirectly serving, you know, it would pose a lot of challenges of miscommunication, and you would come out, or you would be seen as a cold leader. I think the biggest form of bond, or the strongest form of bond, has something to do with an emotional bond with your leader. If you do not have the heart to serve the people, you would not gain their trust, and without that trust, I think your leadership would be jeopardized, because your followers do not trust you, your followers do not empathize with you, and vice versa. So I think that's why the heart is always much more important in leadership.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Our third question is from Queenie. The question is, good afternoon, everyone. Why do we see leadership are made, not born?
Okay, so thank you, another Miss Salviejo. In this case, this is in relation with Mr. Flomi Salviejos as well. Um, as I mentioned, a lot of people have characteristics that can be used for potential leadership. But then again, not everyone makes it past the potential, or the potential stage, or becomes profound leaders, because we encounter different circumstances. There may be some people who could have been better leaders than the leaders we have now, but they they do not have this, how do you call this, they were not given the chance, or maybe they have problems with attaining the proper platform wherein their characteristics would shine, wherein these characteristics for leadership would be recognized. So there's always an importance of recognition, because if you are not seen by a community, if you're not recognized by a community as a leader, most of the time, you would not be put in this pedestal of profound leadership. So leaders are often made, not born. It's not always about talent, it's always about experiences. Most of the good leaders nowadays have both the wisdom that they were born with, or the, let's say, the empathizing nature that they have. But at the same time, they also underwent a lot of challenges, a lot of different circumstances that shaped them into becoming the individual they are now. This made them a good leader in the sense. So that's why some leader, most often leaders are made, not born.
Thank
And
you,
so
ma'am.
there's
Our
another question.
next question is from Evelyn. Good afternoon, ma'am. How to maximize the power and authority being a good leader? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Ma'am Waperi. In this case, how to maximize the power and authority of being a good leader? I think it's a matter of establishing first the foundation of your relationship with your followers. If you are able to develop a good foundation, like for example, one example of good foundation is actually trust, and showing your followers that you empathize very much well with them, you understand what they're going through, and at the same time you're doing your best in on your own way to making or giving them a better opportunity in which they can develop themselves as well. And I think in that sense you can maximize the power and authority because people would of course trust you better. They would see you as someone who serves the community and not just yourself. And I think that's how a lot of leaders, good leaders, tend to have more followers, or let's say a more grasp of maximizing their power and authority because they have good relationships with their followers.
Thank you, ma'am. Our
Okay,
next
so
question is from Doc Albert. Good afternoon, ma'am. What are the most important skills for a leader to have?
okay, so thank you, Dr. Mercado. So actually, this differentiates on what type of leader you want to be. If you should become a people leader, if you're going to become, there are also some leaders who are standing in the forefront of the lead of the group, wherein the leader is, in a sense, guiding the people towards a certain way, a certain path. There are some leaders who prefer to walk beside their followers. There are some leaders who prefer to walk at the back so they can, you know, watch over the people who they are serving. So there are different contexts, there's different circumstances, there are different types of leaders. There's different types actually of leadership styles. So the characteristics or the skills would vary depending on these leaders. For example, if you are the type of leader who is in the forefront or who really likes to lead the way, of course you need to have good judgment skills. That's the very I think that's one of the most significant skills for the forefront leader, the ones who always guides the group, because of course the group would trust you into making good decisions for the community, for the group you are leading, for yourself as well. So of course that's good judgment skills. For those kinds of leaders who are in the middle, the ones who stand with the group beside them, with the lead, with the followers beside them, of course you would need good communication skills, good peer relation skills. You need to become to be very much able to communicate with with your followers without with, without having this sort of what you call this miscommunication, because you need to be good with your boundaries, but at the same time become good friends with your followers. That's the kind of leader that's in the middle. The ones at the back, or the types of leaders who want to remain at the back of the group, watching over their followers. Of course, that form of leader is actually general. They could always have the communication skills. They can also have the good judgment skills, and at the same time, the important evaluative skills, because they would look at the actions of the group and at the same time just give proper advice to the group in general. So the skills would vary, whether it's skills when it comes to judgment, critical thinking, the soft skills, and there's also the hard skills, which is the expertise. It's also very much important. So I think I hope that answers Dr. Mercado's question regarding the skills on leadership.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your answers. I think, ma'am, there is no more question from our participant. So, on behalf of IGP, thank you so much, ma'am. It has been very wonderful session. I hope everyone learned from your session.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you also, IG.
Now it's time to give our webinar code. এই code change করা হয়নি। কমেন্টটা সরাই ফেলাম। কমেন্টটা সরাই ফেলাম। Dear participant, it's time to give you our webinar code. Our webinar topic is Leading from Me to We, Innate to Profound Leadership. And the code is IGP 4634. And the code is IGP 4634. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, anyone claim your certificate anytime. Thank you so much everyone for your active participants. I hope everyone learned from our webinar. So see you again in our next session. Till that, stay happy. Once again, I am Badhandas from Bangladesh.